Okay, I've got some cheat sheets to introduce, and we're going to start with our first speaker of the night. This gentleman is truly inspirational. He's done a lot, and you're going to hear about it right now. He is the founder, chairman, and CEO of AMB Property Corporation, which holds $15 billion, not tomans, dollars in assets. And we're going to bring him up right now. The AMB Property Corporation is a global owner and developer of industrial real estate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hamid Moghadam. Give it up, please. Welcome him. Okay, he's here. You can stop the music. Hamid Jun, I was gonna say, we have, oh yeah. Hamid, you're gonna need that 16 billion to buy your way out of here tonight. Well, you guys, we have to give a little bit of love, even though you're on the wrong campus. Stanford has a better team than us. So, are there any Stanford people here tonight? Right there, give it up. Hamid, what's the roll off that red shirt? Yeah, okay. You come try right now. He's got a lot of security. No, Hamid Jun, welcome. Great to have you here. The reason you wore the Stanford hat is not just because you're a Stanford fan, but you actually went to graduate school in Stanford, correct? That's right. That's right. Yeah. Now, Hamid, we're gonna go through a story here. First of all, as you told me, you came to America at the age of 16.
Yeah.
And tell us when you got started, when you got here. Where did you go at 16? What did you do?
Well, it took me a while to figure out where the left coast is. So I originally went to Boston, struggled through 5 years at MIT, and
at 16 you were at MIT.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. یاد بگیرین. درس خونده. درساتونو بخونین بابا. So what did you study at MIT? What did you get there?
I studied engineering, civil engineering and construction, and I have never, ever used any of that in anything I do. So,
یاد نگیرین. Let me ask you, Hamid, is that when you were going out there, was that something at that young age that you were passionate about, or was it that, okay, you're Iranian, you got to be an engineer, doctor, or lawyer? What was
no,
it?
I was actually very interested in anything having to do with physical space, with buildings, with projects. And maybe it was the influence of my dad, who was in that business in Iran, or just some early experiences of walking around smelling concrete and things like that. But it was never really a question in my mind that I would be doing something in real estate and property. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now exactly. But and the preparation in those days, of course, was to study engineering, because we all wanted to go back to Iran, and that's the skill set that was needed. Here, all the lawyers and the financiers run the real estate business. Over there, the engineers run it.
And so you're 16 years old, you study it, you finish at MIT, and the goal is you're going to go back to Iran. And what happens then?
Well, this was actually around summer of '78 when I graduated. And obviously things in Iran were looking a little crazy.
What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know. And so I actually ended up applying to a couple of business schools and the doctorate program at MIT. And for those of you who were in Boston in 1978, you may remember that there was a huge blizzard. It was called the Blizzard of '78. In fact, it was the first big nor'easter. And there was a curfew for a week. You couldn't leave the house. You couldn't go anywhere. And on the fourth or fifth day of this blizzard, I got a call from the head of admissions at Stanford Business School. And the guy goes, "I understand you got a little storm going on there." I said, "Yeah." Said, "I just want to let you know it's 75 degrees in Palo Alto." So that's really why I decided to go to Stanford.
So you came out to Stanford and get your degree in
business, MBA.
Business MBA, and now you get out, and now we're talking. What's the year about this point?
It's 1980. It's actually May or June of 1980.
And so you get out. The world is your oyster, and what happens?
Not quite. I started interviewing in November of 1979. And in November of 1979, something interesting happened, namely the hostage crisis. And every night on TV, Ted Koppel would go, day number 126, day number 127. Anyway, so I think I've set a record at Stanford Business School in terms of the numbers of interviews I've had and the number of rejections I've had. I've had 2 more rejections than interviews, and I'm still trying to figure that out. It's the truth, absolute truth.
So you got rejected 2 extra times at 2 interviews. They just fired you. They said twice, no and no.
It was actually better than that. I think I got rejected like 35 times, but I'd only interviewed 33 times. So,
And now, so at that time, so now we're making peace here. This is like the Israeli
I can tell
Palestinian.
you have as much hair as I do, right?
I know you and I, a
Very
couple of
good,
good-looking
yeah.
guys. Well, let's show it off. You know, we're deflecting light and warming up the room even more right now. So at the time, your Hamid Moghadam is not the best name to have during the Iran hostage situation.
No, it wasn't, because invariably the conversation would start about the job, and it would end up about Ted Koppel, and the name was sort of the link that made it pretty obvious. So it really wasn't a good time, and on top of that, 1980, for those of you who are young, too young to remember, was a recession almost as bad as what we just came through. So the unemployment rate was around 11%. It was actually higher than it is now. So, and interest rates were like 22%. And so the general U.S. economy was in the toilet. And on top of that, I had my own unique issues that we discussed a little earlier. So it was not a good time. It was
But you
very
decide to stick with the name. You don't change it to like Mead Dam or
tough. No.
Hambo Moghadi or, no.
Nothing.
No.
Actually, some of my friends call me Hambone, but that's just to kid around with.
Okay, which is great. So that's actually an honorable thing that you stuck with your name. And now what happens then to take you to the next level? So you get all these rejections, things don't look good, and how do you persevere? How does one, like a lot of these guys, who has not graduated? Who's in school right now? By applause. Who's still in school? Okay, inspire these poor folks that have no hope. What happened for you that you're going into this horrible economy? You got all this. What do you do?
Well, actually, it was interesting because there was a company in San Francisco that wanted to hire an MBA to finish out a consulting project that somebody else had started and charged them too much money, and they ran out of budget and they needed somebody to finish it. And they went to Stanford Business School and they said, we need to hire somebody. And I was the only one left. So by default, I got that job. And sort of that was the first thing, and I did that for about 9 or 10 months, and I ended up going to work for a professor of mine and did that for a couple of years. And then in 1983, really the important step was that I started our own business that you talked about a little earlier with 2 partners. And we actually started the business in San Francisco in an 800 square foot office and with a $50,000 line of credit from Crocker Bank, which is out of business now. But it got us our start then.
You outlasted the bank that gave you the money to start.
Yeah, we actually never borrowed the money, but we were actually profitable from day one. So,
Oh wow!
Yeah. So.
And then I remember you were saying that there was certain downturns in the economy, and you guys still went. You saw opportunity in that, correct?
Yeah, I would say that probably the biggest reason for our success has been that every time we've been at a stage and we've been on top of our game, sort of we look behind ourselves and see which alligator is coming at us. Because when you're really comfortable and really secure in your position and you start believing your own BS is when you're vulnerable. So we've actually transformed the business 4 or 5 times since that time. We're essentially doing the same thing, but in a variety of different formats. We've changed our business model probably 5 times since then.
And now, okay, so one of the ideas of passing the torch is to talk about your experiences and hopefully, shed some light to some of the younger people here. So, if somebody wanted to get into what you're doing, what's some of the advice you would give for future advice for success, whether it's what you're doing or their passions?
Well, it's got to be your passions, because every business, no matter what it is, it's going to have good days and it's going to have bad days. And it's probably going to have more bad days than good days. So you got to really like what you're doing. A question I get is, should I go into this field or that field or this other field? It actually doesn't matter. You should go into the field that you really like, that gets you out of bed in the morning. And then you'll figure it out from that point forward. Because if you're doing something that you're really not passionate about, you just can't do it when you hit a wall. Maybe you can do it after you hit the first wall, maybe the second wall, but eventually you give up. So I think passion about what you're doing is critical.
And some of the things you were just telling me that you were a Stanford trustee and you were the chair of the Stanford Endowment. So you've kind of, you had branched out and done other things, including, you were telling me this past weekend, one of your hobbies, right? Is
Don't go there. This is Berkeley. This
this
is
is
not a good. This is not a good thing.
he's how would I put it? He's a you help.
I was in Nature Conservancy.
You were
program.
Nature Conservancy. That's
Yeah.
right.
With a
Out there with the
shotgun.
birds,
Yeah.
armed,
bees, yeah.
armed with the birds. Well, you know, you guys, whoever eats chicken, you know, somebody killed the chicken, and it was him. No.
But usually they're in the air.
They're in the air,
we
right,
don't hit
right.
them on the ground.
No, but I'm talking about, you know, I'm talking about being well-rounded in the sort. So is this your obviously it's your passion, but what else do you do that gets you? What else would you say rounds you out?
Well, you know, obviously the company is the business, which is sort of because of our good fortune has put us in a position to be able to give a lot of time and other resources to other activities that we like. And I'm very passionate about Stanford. I think it stands for excellence, and notwithstanding the thoughts.
Cal too. Cal's,
Cal too.
you know, we're not bad. We're good.
And
yeah.
so it's been a very easy place to get back to. So I spent a lot of time down there and in a variety of capacities, and I love it.
Now, if somebody here were to corner you at some point and go, "Hey, I want to get into this," what's the first? Do they apply to just a development company? What's the first step
You mean into the business?
into your business?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in getting into a real estate business in the U.S. or globally, and I would really recommend globally, because I think in the next 30 or 40 years, the last 30 years, real estate has gone from local to regional to national to a little bit of global, and we're probably one of 4 or 5 truly global companies in the business. I think the next 3 years is going to be global. And maybe if we can get Anousheh signed up, we can go intergalactic. So, I think the much bigger, more interesting opportunities in real estate are actually outside the developed economies.
So how does one, let's say, first of all, I knew there was a reason you came here. You were going to have plans with Anousheh to
Right.
build on the moon. First, we put we don't forget. I was going to say we're going to put a flag, but forget it. We won't put a flag there.
Yeah.
No, but like practically speaking, if one of these students wanted to get into the line of business, you know, obviously you have an entrepreneurial, but what's the first? They just apply for a job, or what do they need?
Well, so I've seen actually a lot of people from Iran, particularly at the time of the revolution, that had some resources, and they had good education and everything, and they thought, you know, great, I can be a terrific businessman. And they put their resources into a lot of harebrained business ideas that really didn't work, and it sort of wiped them out. I think it's really important to get some real practical experience doing whatever you're doing on the periphery of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. Secondly, I think it's really important to be globally flexible, to be culturally flexible, learning languages, understanding other cultures, being comfortable to sit across the table with a Chinese businessman and being able to eat duck liver or whatever around the table, and to carry on a business conversation. I think that's really important. And I think a facility for numbers, the relationships between investment and return and those kinds of things, you got to be really good at figuring those things out in your head. You know, this is not nuclear physics. You can it doesn't take really an advanced degree in anything. It's just a bit of good common sense. You got to love to negotiate if you're in the real estate business. So those are the ingredients, I think, for success in our business.
Okay, and now we're gonna wrap it up here, so we move on. But just some parting words. So you're kind of you're a good negotiator then.
I don't know about that.
You're not good. Are you the Persian Donald Trump? Or are you? No, you're not.
God, I don't have a comb over, do I?
No, come over. No, you look beautiful. Come on, my friend. No, but some parting words. One of the experience. I know you talked about another thing, which is, you know, some of it is serendipity, and you know, one of it was your partners that you ended up with. You know, talk a little bit about that and building these relationships.
I think ability, hard work, and good fortune are key ingredients. And I think having two and not all three is not going to work. So you've got to have all three. But some of the luckiest people I know are also some of the hardest working people I know. And at least, you know, when I was going to give a speech before, they said, you know, you should interview. I had actually a whole section on really working hard at being lucky, because I think that's really, really important. Because you get really fat pitches. This is the baseball season, so we've got tough baseball, right? We get some fat pitches occasionally. Everybody gets some fat pitches. And you got to be ready and you got to be prepared to hit them out of the ballpark. And you got to have the courage to be able to take advantage of those situations. So that's my advice. Be prepared.
Work hard.
Swing at it.
Work hard. Luck will come your way.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Hammy. Thank you very much. Give it up one more time. Thank you very much.